What is your name and how long have you lived on the lake?
I'm Rick Welle, and I've lived on the lake for 10 years.
Excellent. What brought you to the lake?
Well, I'm a Metro East resident, lifelong resident. I was born and raised in Collinsville. Made my bones at the Collinsville Fire Department for 28 plus years. And when I was ready to move on there, opportunity came up to come up to Edwardsville as the fire chief. So in 2010, I actually moved to Edwardsville into some temporary housing while my wife was still back in Collinsville. And then in 2013, we found a house here on the lake, loved it, and been here ever since.
Nice. So tell me how the lake has changed while you've been here.
Oh my, how has the lake changed since I've been here? In recent time, the lake had changed to the point because I am a typical South Ender. Um, we took the brunt of the siltation coming in from our watershed area, and the lake just progressively got shallower and shallower over that 10 years since we've been here, to the point where originally I had an old pontoon boat that I was able to keep out just back of the house, to the point where I spent far more time trying to get it out into the lake than I did actual boating. So that aspect of it has changed. Outside of that, for me, the biggest changes have just been getting to know more and more people. Part of it has been through my association on the board, and part of it has just been being a good neighbor and walking the neighborhood with my dog Lola.
Nice. What are some of your earliest memories of the lake?
Well, again, I was born and raised in this area. I was aware of the lake, but I was never aware of the size of the lake and actually the beauty of the whole community here. It's kind of a hidden little secret for anyone who's not an Edwardsville resident, and even for a lot of the Edwardsville residents who don't come this part of town. So the and forgive me, I lost your question. You'll have to do a
That's
little
okay.
editing here.
Earliest memories.
Earliest memories. So when we first after we bought a house here, I said, well, we're living right on the lake. I don't have a boat. I didn't even have a rowboat. I said, so we need something. I'd heard of somebody here on the lake that was selling an old pontoon. I didn't want to drop a whole lot of money until I knew what the lake life was like or anything. So, all right, we had went and checked out, and he took us for a ride. So for the first time, I got to look at the lake from the lakeside rather than just driving around on the roads, and seeing how the houses were oriented toward lake life from the back, that you just had no idea that it was that way, even from the street, unless you knew somebody and had an opportunity to get onto the lake. So I think that boat ride, which I bought the old boat, it was a good sales pitch to get me out on the lake, and that's probably my earliest memory of the lake itself, is getting on it and going down all the various coves on that first ride, and realizing just what a treasure the lake truly is to its residents.
Yeah, it really is. Um, what are some of the major events that have taken place on or around the lake while you were here? I guess what's going on right now is really a big one.
Of course, what's going on right now is the biggest thing, particularly for the South Enders. But I realize this impacts everybody on the lake. I mean, we've had to have the lake leveled down longer than I'm sure anybody remembers. For a long time back, and this is right on the heels of what we did in terms of the improvements on the spillway as well. So these major improvements that have been needing to be done for some time, that's a really big deal, getting those done, and we're getting close now. in terms of, other events, right before I came to Edwardsville, I believe it was Hurricane Ike that created such heavy rainstorms here, and the culverts, which were just a couple of small round culverts going underneath East Lake Drive, right near Gerber. That whole bridge and culverts washed away, and just it looked like something you would see on a newsreel, somewhere else, not in the middle of a small suburban town, where this water just came flooding through and literally washing away the road and closing everything off. So that was a huge event. It was right before my arrival in Edwardsville, certainly 4 years or so before I actually moved onto the lake. But that was a huge event in that it woke everybody up as to just, one, how fragile infrastructure can be if you're not maintaining it. Number two, how important the lake is to watershed control, in Edwardsville itself. So it got more than just the residents involved. It got the city involved, the county, and everyone else involved in terms of getting everything right, so that that watershed was under control. Part of that, and one of my first things that came across my desk when I came here as a fire chief, is there was also a study commissioned for an emergency plan for the lake. I presume whatever existed before was inadequate. If anything existed before, I never saw anything. But I came out, I saw this large report on the dam itself and the impact that it would have in the event of a failure, downstream. And kind of eye-opening is to just what could happen, and the responsibility that lies with the homeowners association, all the residents here, in making sure that we're doing everything we can to maintain not just the dam, but maintain all the properties so that we don't have a tragedy such as a failure of the dam, but also to maintain the lake for our own use. So that's kind of bookending, right?
Yeah.
One very early in my tenure here at Edwardsville, and then now on the tail end, where it's kind of closing that loop of we've taken care of things at the dam end, and now we're needing to take care of things at the headwaters end.
Yeah, that study was fascinating. I was real impressed at how they pulled that together and all the ripple effects that come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what have been, let's see, found the word here. I was just kind of going with that. What's been challenging on the board with all of this going on? There was a lot to be done in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think when I first came on the board, so I actually joined the board. I moved in here in October of 2013, and I actually ran for the board in an open spot that following February. So I've been on the board virtually the whole time I've been a resident here. Originally, the assessment structure was pennies per square foot of property that was owned, and the income was far and away inadequate for the issues that were facing the board and the association in what needed to be done. So the first challenge is getting people to get on board. All politics is local, and so getting that understanding that there were things that needed to be done, not just niceties. These were necessities for maintenance of the lake, and that the assessments as they were structured just wasn't going to cut it. So the original took 2 or 3 years to get that done, where we went to a flat rate for the assessments, which was a big deal. There was a lot of pushback from people who were non-lake residents, and I won't get into all the spiels that are involved with that, but it was a big deal to get it done. Well, once that was done and we took a harder look, all the while there were studies going on. We had contracted with Horner and Schifrin to do some early studies as to what plans we could actually do for silt management and how we were going to get all that done. And slowly the reality set in that not only was the flat fee that was established necessary, it was also going to be necessary to raise that flat fee significantly. And that became an even harder sell. There were a lot of plans that were kicked out there. A lot of people had a variety of ideas from let it go back to a trickle all the way to we need to expand it further and make it something greater. And with this diversity within the community, which is one of the things that makes it so fascinating living here, is this whole diverse culture that's out there, the diversity in the houses and the people and their income levels and their use of the lake or non-use of the lake, as that may be, trying to pull all those thoughts together into an understanding that we could all come to. That I think what finally sold it was this concept that the first thing we had to address was the spillway, and that was a mandatory issue that we had coming from Illinois Department of Natural Resources. And it started dawning on people that there was a true responsibility, a fiscal responsibility that we just had to do as owners of this lake. I guess finally what made it all pull together, and I'll be the first to admit I was resistant to it, was getting an outside agency involved, to help us put together on paper. Heartlands Conservancy helped us with a master plan. My fear for the master plan, and some of it is still there, is that some are going to take that and say, well, now we have to do all this. And that's really not the goal of it. It was to put a vision out there. Where are we going as the owners of this property? Where are we going with it? And what's necessary? What things would be improvements that are going to bring all members of the association, not just those on the lake, but those who live on the opposite side or on any number of the side streets that are part of the association, and how they could be involved in it as well. When that all came together and everyone finally realized, a majority finally realized, and it took more than a simple majority, that we were going to have to do that. We finally pushed through, the necessary increase in the assessments. And once we had that power of the purse, we could finally start kicking in the plans that were for years on the back burner, and said, okay, it's time to implement. And that's what you're seeing today. That first we started with the dam as the most pressing issue, given the opinions of everyone. IDNR was pleased because they gave us more or less a 10-year plan, to get it done, and we got it done within 2 or 3 years of the first, when they first mentioned it. It was the highest priority of the homeowners here, and now trying to improve the quality of the lake and silt management, everything was the next step, and that's where we are.
Excellent. How has the local community changed over the years?
Well, the community as a whole, just when I'm speaking about the Edwardsville Glen Carbon area, has just boomed. From my early days understanding the Metro East, part of it was I'm born and raised in Collinsville. I always thought Collinsville was the community that was going to kind of lead in the Metro East, and given its geographic position with the highways and everything, and excuse me, and the Edwardsville Glen Carbon area just exploded. Commerce, residents, the homes, beautiful homes coming up. the downtown area, the services that provided by the community. It was fantastic. Excuse me.
Do you want a water? I guess I'm sitting up here.
I think I'll be all right. You're just gonna have to do a little editing. That's all.
We can do that.
The community at large, changed in that sense. The lake community, I think, in some ways because of the challenges of COVID and how everybody kind of withdrew, and just the changes in society where people kind of withdrew into their own homes and became more or less isolated. I'm seeing a change in that now as well, where people are recognizing that there is a value to a spirit of neighborhood, spirit of the lake community, our shared goals. The East Lake Drive in particular, very walkable because of the improvements made there in terms of the sidewalk running the full length of East Lake Drive, and given plenty of opportunity for people to walk, see the lake, enjoy it, whether they're residents or not. Well, we get them by the hundreds every day, walking by, and that sense of community and spirit and getting to know one another, I think that's rebounding now, and so that change has been for the good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, with the COVID thing, I think we saw a lot more people on the lake. We had so many more building permit. I'm going to say so many boat
On the
permits.
lake, but they were still
It used to be 6
isolated,
Yeah.
right? Their activities were isolated, and now you have people strapping their boats together, and we have events, everything that they do at St. Mary's and East Lake with the bands and the block parties and then the bonfire, of course, the annual fireworks. That's a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that sense of community, I think, is one of the reasons that makes us a special community.
Yeah. Are there any moments that particularly stand out for you? You're wiggling your feet.
Particular moments, I guess, being able to go out on the lake once I was a member, a property owner myself, being able to go out on the lake with a few of my family members. My daughter lives right around the corner from me. And I would go out with family members and enjoy the 4th of July fireworks. Just sit down and see everything. It's a great show. It's a great way to enjoy the lake, itself, and just being a part of that. That's probably being able to share that with my family and within the extended family of the community. That's probably my best memory on the lake.
Yeah, that's great. What advice would you give to someone who's new to the lake?
Someone who is new to the lake, first get a hat if you're going to go out on the lake. I would suggest even if they don't want to be active on the board, come to a few of the board meetings and get a feel for what's going on in terms of management, because that's important to their own property values. If they don't want to be on the board, there's committees that they can help with if they don't want to help with that. Just knowing what's going on in the association is going to help them. I would strongly urge them some way or another to enjoy the lake, whether that's a paddleboard, a canoe, a pontoon boat, get to know a neighbor that has a boat and go out with them, enjoy the lake. It's best seen from the lake side. But it's also an enjoyable community, as I said, just to walk, even if the only way you're enjoying the lake is getting out and walking and seeing the beauty of the lake. That in itself has value to it. So you're part of this lake association as a homeowner here, I would say use it.
Absolutely. What do you think the future holds for the lake and the community?
Well, as the treasurer of the association, we have some challenges ahead of us. We've had to take on some debt to do the things that need to be done now. There are more challenges. There are other things that we do need to do. We need to continue to refer to and revise and improve the master plan for the lake so that everybody understands where our goals are and have their input to that, not just two or three people saying this is what we're going to do. The whole community making a consensus as to or coming to a consensus as to what we should be doing with the lake. Those things will take funding, somewhere down the line. I'm certainly not sitting here saying, well, we just got to keep driving up your assessment and driving up your assessment. That's the furthest thing from our mind. But we're going to get these things done right now. We're going to take a pause, take a deep breath, understand that there have been great accomplishments over the last 5 years or so that we really have done, and then continue with making things better for all the homeowners, and in turn improving their property values.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything I've missed? Any pieces of knowledge you'd like to leave with us?
Be careful if you're going to ice skate.
Says the fire chief.
Says the fire chief. It is deep. And certainly the south end is going to be much deeper now. Last year you might have got your ankles cold a little bit if you went through the ice, but things that we may have missed in these conversations. I will say that when you think about in your mind, what if you go in your mind, you go to a peaceful place, a serene place. What is placid? There's always the view of water as part of that, whether it's a pond or the ocean or a stream. Water in itself has a calming quality to it, and that is what the lake provides. It provides beautiful scenery. It provides a peaceful respite for everything else going on in today's world. And as owners and participants of this association, you need to seize on that and make it a part of your, if not your daily life, as a regular tool for you to get out and enjoy what is rightfully yours.